I am on a quest to beat every game for the Nintendo Gamecube. Every single one. However, each game is chosen at random by this horrendous wheel, so we are never certain what's coming next. My name is Rami, and this is my quest to beat the entire Gamecube library. Game number 5 is a classic. The Simpsons Road Rage. Released in 2001, it was developed by Radical Entertainment and published by Electronic Arts. This is the first game for the challenge that I have previous experience with. I owned and played Road Rage as a kid, and I have fond memories of my best friend and I trying to beat each other's scores on all the levels. Whether it's held up after all these years though, we'll have to see. Let's dive in. Upon booting the game, we're immediately greeted by a short cutscene and the closest thing to a story that this game has.
Behold the Burns Atomic Megabus. Faster, cheaper, and completely safe.
Please kill me. That poor man. I hope someone does kill him.
Jesus, they went really mean with the characters in this game, and Marge is no exception. So the simple premise is that Mr. Burns has taken over the public transit with dangerous nuclear-powered buses, and to thwart him, Homer invented Uber. People say that The Simpsons can predict the future, and in this case, I suppose they predicted ride-sharing culture. There are only a few game modes on offer here. We got Road Rage, which is the main mode, and is essentially Crazy Taxi. Sunday Drive is just a free roam of the various maps, and Mission Mode is 10 super basic challenges to complete. We have a solid cast of characters on offer here from all over Springfield. We start with the main Simpsons family, besides Maggie for obvious reasons, and can unlock a variety of others as we continue to play. Every character also has a unique vehicle that somehow ties to the show, and there are some fun bits of lore sprinkled in with these. Now, I was still figuring out what would constitute beating this one. I had taken a look at how long to beat and speedrun.com, and could only see instances of people completing mission mode or getting 100% game completion. I decided to hop into mission mode and see what that would entail. So for mission 1 of 10, we're Groundskeeper Willie on his beloved tractor Duchess, and we need to smash 12 newspaper boxes to destroy Burns' propaganda. This was a good opportunity to relearn the controls and get a feel for the game. The first thing that struck me was how insanely quick I was. I expected a tractor to be on the slower side, but this thing just zooms. The controls felt pretty responsive though. As fast as I was, I didn't feel like I was at great risk of crashing. After not much time at all, I smashed all 12 boxes, and that was the first mission complete. Next, we decided to check out the titular Road Rage mode, and I kept things simple with Homer driving the family sedan. For Road Rage, there are just 6 levels to play on. However, you start with only Evergreen Terrace available. To unlock more locations or characters, we'll need to earn some money. So, let's drive. Now, if you've ever played Crazy Taxi, you're going to notice right away that we are literally playing that with a Simpsons skin. Back in the day, all Simpsons games really was just a shameless clone of an existing franchise with a Simpsons veneer on them. Apparently, Sega thought so too, as they sued Radical and EA for patent infringement at the time. The case was settled privately before going to court, but it's pretty incredible how brazen this was. So, much like Crazy Taxi, our objective is to pick up passengers and get them to their destination as quickly as possible. The less time it takes, the more money we make. Every passenger we deliver successfully increases the time we have left, and that lets you continue earning and increase your high score. I had decent success on my first attempt here, earning $6,600. We get a rating like Reckless or Madman based on our performance, but these don't have any real impact, and then we're able to enter our initials on the high score if we performed well enough. If you cross a monetary threshold, you also get to unlock your choice of new stage or character. I went for a new stage to keep things varied and unlocked the Entertainment District. We also get a taunting line from Mr. Burns between levels.
A shiny new donkey to the man who brings me the head of Homer Simpson.
There's a fair mixture of these, and it's a nice touch to tie the objective of thwarting him together. I then jumped into the Entertainment District, and this time I chose Bart. He's driving Little Lightning from the Soapbox Derby episode. The first thing I noticed was how ridiculously quick this vehicle is. The differences between characters aren't insane, but acceleration, top speed, handling, and their ability to just plow through obstacles will depend on who you pick. In addition to regular passengers, we would rarely be asked to complete the journey while avoiding traffic. If you can deliver the person while hitting 2 or fewer unique vehicles on the way, we get bonus money, and that adds 5 seconds to the clock no matter how long it takes. If you're looking to get a high score, success in these extra little missions is vital. The time bonus helps build a buffer, and that's going to be really important. If you fail to complete the bonus, you still get the regular payout, but the longer you play a stage, the tighter it gets to gain good bonuses for delivering passengers. So if you want a really high score, you're going to need to drive almost perfectly towards the end and hit the bonus missions every time they occur. During all this, you also have Mr. Burns with Smithers driving, or the nuclear buses constantly getting in your way. They will actively crash into you or even obstruct your path to waste as much time as possible. We certainly lost some promising high scores to both throughout our journey. So no amazing scores just yet, but I was continuing to earn a solid 6k each time. This time I went for a new character, and I let chat pick. The verdict was Snake driving Little Bandit. So I took Little Bandit for a spin by replaying Evergreen Terrace, and this is a good opportunity to talk about one of the coolest aspects of the game.
I need to go to the Quickie Mart to get zip cream. A lot of zip cream.
Hey, just leave the driving to me.
First of all, if you are a Simpsons nerd like me, it's really cool that they got the entire original voice cast to record lines just for this game.
Hi, Mo. What's new?
Is that some sort of crack?
Careful, don't sit on my nachos.
Just get me out of here. No questions, all right? I'll pay handsomely.
There are 17 unique drivers that all have tons of voice lines, and every passenger you find also has plenty to say. So they really invested a lot of time and effort into this aspect. There is one more type of bonus mission to mention. Road Rage bonuses ask you to reach your destination while destroying as many objects as possible. These could be a little tight, but a $1,000 bonus and 5 seconds of bonus time is the single biggest yield you can get from a passenger. These are the hardest bonuses to earn, as you still have a time limit for each passenger, but it's definitely worth the effort. Thanks to getting a feel for the driving and a road rage bonus, I finished this one with my highest score yet. At this point, I could already feel the rewards slowing down. The amount of money needed goes up exponentially, so you definitely start to feel the lack of stage variety very, very early on. Since I needed some more money to unlock the next stage, I went with Marge driving the Canyonero, and I returned to the Entertainment District. At this point, I was already consistently earning about $7,500, and I was having a good time so far. A couple more replays later, and I earned enough to unlock Stage 3, Springfield Dam. This time I went with Grandpa, and he is driving the Shriner's Cart. So I already mentioned the stellar voice work. The other aspect I really love about this game is the attention to detail on Springfield. If you have seen a lot of The Simpsons, you'll definitely enjoy seeing all the locations from the show fully realized on each stage. We drive across Springfield Dam itself, visit Rancho Relaxo, and there's references ranging from the simple, like the Quickie Mart, to the much more obscure, like seeing the Burlesque House. Again, just really nice attention to detail on the Simpsons aspects of the game. The actual gameplay is pretty shallow and repetitive, so for Chat and I, the game was very much carried by just being charming. I'm skipping over the bulk of the grinding in this video, but there was a ton of it. I think in the game's defense, it isn't designed to be played in one huge session like I did, but the lack of stage variety was already grating on me at this point, and the stages feel pretty solved after only a few rounds. By this point, I was also getting very solid at driving. I managed to lock in more than $10,000 dues, and I took the new high score. This time, Chat chose Professor Frink, and he will become very relevant later on in this video. Frink drives his hover car, and it is the most unique vehicle in the game. It handles a little sloppily due to a lack of weight, but it suffers 0 speed penalty from traveling uphill. At this point, I was really cooking, and I had more or less mastered the driving in this game. There's tons of shortcuts dotted around the maps, and it's really satisfying when you find them. Some are obvious and save only a few seconds, others took me a lot longer to find, but can save upwards of 10 seconds, which is huge. The controls for this game are simple to learn, but hard to master. A lets you accelerate, and B is the brakes. You steer with the left stick, and honestly, that's mostly it. There is one really cool thing though, and that's using the Y button to hit the handbrake. This lets you turn on a dime by doing donuts from stationary, make much tighter turns than normal, and my personal favorite, slide into destination so you're facing a better direction to continue from. So far I'd racked up 60k, unlocked 7 vehicles, 3 of 6 stages, and done 1 of 10 missions. I was still struggling to define beating this game. This isn't a challenge to 100% a game, so I didn't need to hit all this criteria or anything, but I was still looking for a solid conclusion to the quote-unquote story. We decided to check out mission mode since there are only 10, and see if that would be a satisfying conclusion to the game. Now I'm going to be real with you here, mission mode sucks. These are all just super boring and repetitive. They all consist of either reach a specific destination within a time limit, or destroy various objects / hit certain types of pedestrian. That really is all they are, just a certain Simpsons character doing a simple and pointless task for a couple of minutes. I'm going to save us both some time here and just not give you a play-by-play on these, as they're easily the weakest element of the game. I'm just showing you a little bit of each mission so that you can see that I beat them all and that I'm being honest about how monotonous they were. It's a shame that this part of the game wasn't fleshed out a bit more. I think I would prefer they just hadn't included it at all, if I'm being honest. Eventually we did arrive at the final mission, Mission 10, Burns' Arena. This is the only somewhat different or notable one, and since it's the last one, I figure I'll take you through it. We're Homer, and we need to smash 20 of Mr. Burns' statues, which I guess somehow in Homer's plan will stop the buses. I don't know. This is made somewhat difficult by this absolute shambles of a camera angle.
What the hell was that?
Despite the camera being for ants, I was able to smash all of the statues, and I was told that I'd unlocked a special prize.
The sticker price is $82,000.
La cucaracha. So yeah, for doing the missions, we got the car built for Homer to use in Road Rage, but nothing that helps me with beating the story or the game itself. I delved into the menus and saw that there is a closing movie to the game. Alright dude, I guess beating the game is getting the closing movie. I then cracked open the manual to work out how we unlock said closing movie and discovered that we need to collect an entire $1 million to get it. So yeah, I was devastated to discover that beating this game required farming $1 million dues. As a reminder, at this point in, I had played the game for 2.5 hours and I had less than 100,000. We had a debate on stream about alternative approaches to beating this one, as my estimate for $1 million was 17 hours of gameplay. People suggested that I just call it quits having beaten the missions, or even just finish unlocking and playing every stage, and I'll admit, it was tempting. But this isn't some Weenie Hut Juniors challenge. If there is an ending cutscene, I am damn well going to unlock it. I just feel like if I'm willing to concede on the integrity of the challenge this early on, what's the point in doing it, you know? Some of you might feel the same way that folks in Twitch chat did and just say, who cares? Like, why arbitrarily waste an extra 14 hours just to get the cutscene? But this is a salty Splatoon challenge, dude. I knew I would only feel satisfied if I beat this one for real. So armed with my goal and weapons-grade stubbornness, my objective was clear. Unlock the final cutscene and 100% the game by collecting
$1 million.
Before we get to the big grind though, there are 3 more stages to show you. At this point, I was just shy of my first 100k, had completed all mission modes, and was doing my first round on stage 4, the nuclear power plant. I think this was my favorite stage, only second to Evergreen Terrace. This is probably the most condensed of all the levels, and that allows for chaining together a long string of passengers without needing to travel too far. There is, however, one character that became the bane of my existence.
Do you have my pills?
Grandpa insists on going into the runoff stream for some unknown reason, and this takes you totally out of the way. We were able to pick up Flanders or Krusty and take them to the Leftorium from down here, but it would nearly always tank my remaining time and just be a massive detour. So I very quickly took to just totally ignoring Grandpa. At this point, I was consistently racking up $11,000 or more per mission, and officially passed the 100,000 mark. 10% of the way towards beating the game?
Woohoo! USA! USA! USA!
Our second to last stage we unlocked was downtown. This one was super dense when it came to references to the cartoon. We see Lard Lad's Donuts, drive past Moe's, and even visit City Hall. My favorite feature though is this escalator to nowhere. I'm pretty sure driving up it is almost always a detriment, but I insisted on doing it just because it's cool. I even finished the stage by almost being crushed by Truckosaurus. So at this point, I was mostly farming out money. There was one more stage to unlock, which I'll show you in a minute, and then I'll explain my method for farming $1 million, as it's kinda cool. As you can probably imagine though, the game was losing its charm by now. I was 3 hours in, and the crazy taxi gameplay loop can only be enjoyable for so long. I'd also heard all the voice lines by now and seen all the references 10 times over, so even my Simpsons nerdiness was starting to fail me. With only 125,000 in the bank, I unlocked the final neighborhood, the Springfield Mountains. In contrast to Downtown and the nuclear plant, Springfield Mountains is easily the most sparse map in the game. The distance between passages can get really extreme. There are still some nods to the cartoon, like Chester J. Lampwick's solid gold house. There are even times where the quickest way to an objective is to jump Springfield Gorge. So a few cute details sprinkled in, but definitely the level with the most distance to cover. The money you earn isn't affected by which level you're playing on or choice of driver, so it's pretty much an active detriment to play on empty stages like this when Evergreen Terrace is just so much easier to navigate. So now with all 6 stages beaten, I was sitting at only 131k out of the million. Again, there is an argument for just calling it a win here, but this isn't that sort of channel. So we took to farming up money and started cycling through the stages and played as a new character whenever I unlocked them. One thing I alluded to at the start of the video during the intro cutscene and haven't touched on again yet is that the characters seem extra mean in this game. They often say some pretty cruel things to each other, and when we started playing as Willy here, things got even more spicy.
Hello, Krabappel. Care to see me Loch Ness Monster?
Jesus Christ, Willy, calm down.
There you go.
I give that right a C.
Hey, but would you like to see the D? I don't remember this game being nearly as adult when I played as a kid. My innocent young mind corrupted.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
I think one last thing to mention about this game is the visuals. It was universally panned at the time for being ugly, but I don't think it's that bad. Certainly more stylized games like the Wind Waker or Paper Mario have aged better, but I think it's held up well enough. Funnily enough, I think Mr. Burns looks the best, as he is such an angular character that the GameCube's polygonal graphics kinda suit him. A rounder character like Homer, though, looks much more jarring as a result. By the 7.5 hour mark, I had earned nearly half of the money by just farming the same 6 stages over and over again. I was earning roughly 10k every stage, and that would take me about 7 minutes, so I was making 1% game completion every 7 minutes. Yeesh. In the interest of reducing that time as much as possible, I decided to learn the techniques used by the 100% speedrun. I said earlier that Frink would prove to be very important later, and here we are. The speedrun strat takes place on Springfield Dam and only works if you have Professor Frink. The hover car allows us to drive up the dam with no slowdown, and as a result, we can take massive shortcuts that unlock an infinite route if done well. It took me a number of goes to master this route, but I'm really glad that they did. It saved several hours grinding that final 500k. I'm going to give a super quick rundown on the path here, and you could literally go try and grind out the 100% record with this and a bit of practice on the missions. We load into the dam stage as Frink, and we pick up the nearest passenger. We then drive along the road and follow this shortcut under the sign. We follow the road to the destination and drop off our first passenger. We then pick up the next passenger, whom will want to go to either Camp Krusty or the Interesting House. There's nothing to do here but follow the hand at the top of the screen and drop this person off at that chosen destination. Either way, we then need to pick up the next passenger from the back of the Interesting House and take them across the dam. Across the dam, we take them up this slope and we drop them off at Cletus's trailer. Now we pick up the passenger that starts the infinite loop. This passenger will want to go to Rancho Relaxo, and we can take an extreme shortcut by jumping off the side of the dam. This takes us down into the water below, and we simply need to follow the path. This will take us to another slope, and by heading up here, we get to Rancho Relaxo with massive amounts of time to spare. Then we do a U-turn and make our way back towards the dam. Now for the main speedrun strat and why we are using the hover car. We can drive up the dam with no speed penalty. If you get the angle just right, you can clear this fence and land directly in the next destination by the mayor's house. This is the bit that takes a lot of practice to get good at. Once that person's dropped off, you finally return to the top of the dam and pick up the next passenger standing there. They will want to go to Rancho Relaxo, and you have successfully started an infinite loop. And that is more or less it. Repetitive for sure, but much less draining than playing the other stages. You rack up colossal bonuses for how quickly you arrive by taking these shortcuts, and once you have the route down, it's more or less time to autopilot. We mostly kept ourselves entertained at this point, with chat betting on whether I would make the jump or not each time, and I enjoyed practicing it to build consistency. Go up here, hook it left. I'm too slow, I think. You go over here, and you launch like that. Yes!
Hey, hey!
We also made a ritual of hitting this poor guy every time we went through the water. We decided I could only nail the jump if I hit him both times, and we nicknamed him Lucky. A really successful round of doing this strat would often yield us about $20,000, so twice as much as the other stages, and far quicker than playing normally too. Again, we need 1 million to beat the game, and just as a consequence, we'll end up doing 100% completion on this game. Armed with my refined speedrun strats, there was nothing left to do but knock out the rest of the money and unlock the remaining characters. At long last, we were less than $10,000 short on that $1 million goal. I decided to do one last victory lap on my favorite map, Evergreen Terrace, and chat voted on finishing off with Mr. Plow. 12 hours later, and it was the same old gameplay, but knowing I was so close to freedom was an amazing feeling. With time to spare, I finally hit the 10,000 mark, and it was time to watch that sweet, sweet ending cutscene that I'm sure will be worth all my time and effort. Surely. There it is! I'll be overshot. Oh no, you can't. You can't get more than 1 million. Okay.
I've had it with you people complaining about my scary, glowing buses. I haven't seen a display of civil disobedience this contemptible since the Summer of Love. You want the transit system back? Then take it. But don't think for a moment that you've seen the last of Monty Burns.
Oh, is that it?
Become tiresome. Insert the alternate game disc.
Worst video game ever.
There it is! The credits! Oh my god, dude. It's beautiful. I told you guys the cutscene was going to be really disappointing. Wow, totally worth it. And that was The Simpsons Road Rage, a game that's pretty fun in short bursts, but is absolutely not designed to be consumed in the copious quantities that I had to. It took me a grand total of 12 hours and 10 minutes to beat. About half of that was just the speedrun tech. I settled on a 2 for difficulty. This whole game is incredibly easy, and once you get a feel for the controls, it can be more or less autopiloted. Enjoyability was a measly 4 out of 10, but quite frankly, it's amazing it got even that after the sheer amount of tedium that went into grinding the mill. I tried to recognize that the game is best enjoyed in short bursts, and it would have been a much more enjoyable experience if we didn't have to binge the whole thing. Despite the general repetitiveness of the game loop, I still enjoyed the voice work and the references enough to have some fun. If you made it to the end, thank you very much for watching. Please enjoy a sneak peek at what I'll be playing next time. There are a number of games I do not want. I would love something short. That's my main preference here. It could even be a sports game as long as it's short. No, 1 per 10 rolls at the moment. UFC Throwdown. Never heard of it. A sports game of sorts. Thank you as always for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing as they help the channel grow, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye-bye.